Daniel sits by a still lake, watching the sky reflected in its surface. The air is crisp, the world eerily quiet. The stillness of the water unsettles him, because it mirrors something within him. For days, he has carried a question in his mind. If I am not separate, then why do I still feel fear? He thought that understanding interconnectedness would bring him peace, but instead, a subtle fear has crept in. If there is no true self, then what is left to hold on to? What is left to protect? Ajahn Suriya sits beside him, the folds of his saffron robe barely moving in the soft breeze. The monk watches the lake, then, without a word, picks up a stone and tosses it into the water. The surface shatters. Ripples expand outward, touching everything. Daniel watches, waiting for the water to return to stillness, but something in him stirs, something he cannot yet name. The monk speaks. Where do you end, and where does the world begin? Daniel blinks. I don't know. I guess at my skin. Ajahn Suriya smiles. Are you sure? The monk gestures toward the ripples in the water. You see how the lake reacts to the stone? You are the same. The world moves and you respond. Can you say where you truly begin and end? Daniel frowns. He wants to argue, but something about the way the ripples stretch outward makes him hesitate. The monk leans forward, dipping his fingers into the water. The ego clings to a boundary that was never there. It says, "This is me, that is not me." But tell me, Daniel, when the wind touches your skin, is it outside you, or is it a part of your experience? Daniel hesitates, glancing at the trees swaying around them. I suppose it's both. Ajahn Suriya nods. And when you breathe, is the air outside of you or within you? Daniel inhales slowly, feeling the breath fill his lungs. Both. The monk gestures toward the lake. So tell me, is the stone ever separate from the water? Daniel watches the last of the ripples fade. The stone is still there, beneath the surface, but its impact remains. A silence stretches between them. Then, softly, Ajahn Suriya asks, "Who is it that you are trying to protect?" Daniel exhales. The tension in his shoulders releases. He had spent his life defending something, his pride, his image, his sense of self. But what if there was nothing to defend? What if he was never separate to begin with? For the first time, he stops resisting. He stops grasping for an answer. And in that stillness, something shifts. There is no inside, no outside, no self, no other. Just awareness, just being. And now, ask yourself, where do you end, and where does the world begin? If you let go of the idea that you are separate, what remains? If there was never anything to protect, what would life feel like? Are you ready to dissolve the boundary and become the whole?